Can you solo retail World of Warcraft? Solo Dan is here again to find out. In this series, there will be no grouping of any kind, no using the auction house, and no trading. And to make it somewhat interesting, we will solo all dungeons and raids without overleveling them. Do you think it's possible? Well, stay tuned to find out. We are here, we are doing it again. However, this time not in some temporary game mode, but in the actual retail version of the game. For this one, we have left the Demon Hunter behind and decided to make a fresh druid. Ah, I like the smell of trolls in the morning. After going through some basic training and retrieving some stolen raptor hatchlings, which are surprisingly good swimmers for having such short arms, we quickly proved to Vol'jin that we are the main man, and that we should definitely lead the charge in the all-out attack against the Naga. I'm sure with an army of trolls we can easily overpower them. Guys? Well, at least I got Zuni by my side. Wait, Zuni, no, this is supposed to be a solo challenge. Ah, much better. As Vol'jin decides to get high and talk to a fireplace, we head off to Durotar, as some more helpless souls there need our help. Along the way I learn how to fish. You never know when that comes in handy. And I also pick up herbalism and alchemy. No real plan here, there were just some trainers around here. And after heroically liberating Sen'jin village and making my way to Razor Hill, I've already reached level 10. And for leveling, there is only one true spec. The one, the only, Blazer Chicken. While I liberate the rest of Durotar, it is time to talk about the plan. The goal is to finish every dungeon and hopefully raid without overleveling them. You see, in World of Warcraft, past expansions have been put into level brackets. This means that content in Classic WoW and in the first two expansions, the Burning Crusade and the Wrath of the Lich King, will stop scaling after level 30. Cataclysm and Pandaria stop after level 35, and so on until we reach the current expansion. Now, low level scaling is questionable, so I'm hoping that this leaves me some interesting avenues to explore in the future. Our first goal will be reaching level 30, as this will allow access to the highest level of gear from quests and dungeons in this bracket, making everything I obtain before level 30 redundant. Once that is done, we will move on to step 2, increasing my power level. This will include a wide variety of different ways to increase my character's power, but for now, let's leave those in the future. Within this step, I will most likely also finish all the normal dungeons and heroic dungeons, as these will be part of the gear grind near the end. For step 3, we will be heading into the raids, completely solo, and see where we can get to. Will this even be possible? Well, I guess we'll have to find out. Along the way, there will be some additional content that me and you can think of. This could be challenging achievements, world bosses, things like the Mage Tower, anything you can think of. So start putting them in the comments below and I'll make sure to include them. Once we finish a bracket, we will then move on to the next level cap and repeat the same process over and over until we complete World of Warcraft. Everything is fair game except for grouping, trading, heirlooms, and any other external benefit that cannot be obtained solo. Still with me? That probably means it's time to subscribe. Well, let's get back to grinding. With Durotar liberated, we make our way to the Barrens, getting us marked on PETA's most wanted list, as well as becoming a mass murderer of the Quillboar population. And while this is a solo challenge, a druid is never truly alone, especially not when paired with their best friends, Maple, Birch, and Tom. Now, most of us have leveled in WoW before, and know that there isn't much of a challenge or excitement in it. So while we are cleansing nature and bringing balance back to the Force, I'll put this dopamine-filled adventure in a bite-sized clip for you guys. While I was leveling for this challenge, the War Within pre-patch dropped, and while I didn't know what this would mean for the account, I decided after hitting level 28 that I would go to Teneris and do the Warband quests. Not that I will ever use the function, but I might as well see what is going on with it. The quests do not give anything else, so I proceed my leveling and hit 30 shortly after. Now, to remain at level 30, and I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but there is a way to lock your experience. To do this, you will need to find the correct NPC and either Orgrimmar or Stormwind respectively, and for a measly 10 gold, you can eliminate your experience gain to make sure you do not gain any more levels. Step 1 completed. Well, now what? I ask myself as I walk down the stairs. I happen to run into a new quest I've never seen before, so I guess we will just go along with it. He gives me a crystal that teleports me to a space station to meet with Velen. I feel like I missed a few steps here, team. After I get beamed to an unknown planet, I am asked to meet with this guy Hatun. While we are talking, this red guy shows up out of nowhere with Velen caging him with his foul sorcery. Anyway, apparently we're helping this red guy, so we stop and do that. And in the end we get a toy that turns us into one of the red guys, so I guess we got something out of it. There is a shop here as well after that questline, but there is nothing of note for my character at this stage, so I swiftly head back to Orgrimmar for the next step. Gearing. First of all, I'm looking for a powerful weapon, and my first thought is the artifact weapons from Legion. You see, I'm not looking anything up, so if you already know this is a bad idea, please go ahead and laugh at me in the comments. Now, even though the Legion expansion has a higher level cap than the first 3, the actual expansion content scales from level 10. So I can actually go into Legion content to get items if it would make me stronger. I head over to Chromie to time travel me to the Legion timeline and make my way to Dalaran in order to start the Druid artifact weapon questline. In order to get my artifact weapons, I get summoned to Moonglade, and after carrying Malfurion and opening a portal, we find ourselves in the Emerald Dreamway. But the Nightmare has also found its way in. After dealing with the Nightmare, we make our way into the Dream Grove, the class order hall for druids. Now, if you don't remember, the class order halls were hubs in Legion where characters of the same class would hang around, gather power, and much more. These order halls offered a wide variety of gear upgrade systems, mission boards, class-only quests, and much more. The only question is if any of this will still be useful on a level-locked character. But we are here to find that out together. And after a quick scout around, there seems to not be that much for me to do yet. However, I do get to pick my first artifact weapon to pursue. Artifact weapons in Legion were legendary weapons that would scale with you, by investing and farming artifact power to make it stronger. While much of that functionality is now gone, it is just a stat stick weapon nowadays. But will it be better than any of the dungeon blues? I look at the quest reward and see a whopping eye level of 10. I do hope that this eye level will scale up a bit once I get the weapon. After a venture into Duskwood and into the catacombs of Karazhan, we retrieve the Sight of Elune, and oh, it is actually eye level 10. You see, artifact weapons need to be powered up by slotting in these relics, so maybe we just farm some of those? Before heading out though, we hover around the Dream Grove some more and get introduced to the mission table. I'm not sure if this could be any value in the future, but I may keep an eye on it while I'm doing some other things. Off to find some relics, and we start off in Val'Sharah, and after some initial questing here, I do get one of the relics. And when slotting it, and after doing some quick maths, the eye level will end up equaling the average eye level of the relics you put in. So if you end up putting 3 eye level 140 relics in, you will get an eye level 140 weapon. And I'm pretty sure I can get better weapons elsewhere, or at least with less hassle. But I decide to do one last thing before I give Legion a miss for now. There is a world quest up for Awakening Essence, and this can be traded in for the old Legion legendaries. So I hop on down to do the quests, make my way to the vendor, but unfortunately, the legendaries require level 45 to use. Something I'll need to remember when I'm in that bracket. Time to leave Legion behind for now, but at least the questing got me to a slightly better eye level at level 100. I've got some more ideas for the future when it comes to gearing, but for now, maybe let's try some dungeons and get them crossed off, as that can get me some eye level 140 gear. Starting out with an all-time classic, the Ragefire Chasm, and from the start I can feel that this will not be a cakewalk. Trash hits hard, and bosses hit even harder. Luckily for me, some of the dungeon's geometry lets me kite out the first boss. And after I made that bad doggy sit, I get rewarded with my first eye level 140 item, a pair of boots, a huge upgrade. Stealthing past everything to the second boss, I'm quite lucky he has a very long cast in Shadowstorm that I can use to get away from him and heal safely. But the name of the game remains Kite, 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 as their melee hits are not as soft as I would have expected. Slowly but surely this boss also falls after a couple of minutes. And now for a section I like to call Mechanics in Old Dungeons that nobody knows and or cares about. The third boss can actually be beaten without taking a single point of damage, as his lava spit ability is actually cast at the floor and not at the player. So if you time your movement well, you can avoid any hits coming from this boss. You can thank me later when Ragefire Chasm Mythic Plus is a thing, don't worry about it. A few tango moments later, Slagba falls, rewarding us with a pair of bracers. And as for the final boss, well, he hits like a truck, has an annoying knockback and stun, and his biggest weakness, a low wall. And as he stumbles over and over again, I get rewarded with another upgrade in an ice belt. With the first dungeon being quite rough, I decide that doing some questing in between dungeons would probably be my best approach. We have plenty of quests that still give me decent upgrades or niche items. Blizzard also introduced quest gear upgrades a while back, allowing quest rewards to upgrade in a rarity all the way to epic. And when they proc as epic gear, the eye level is higher than what is obtainable from any dungeon, theoretically making quest items best in slot at this stage, but way more RNG. So, we will be doing some questing on the side when we do other stuff or just when I'm bored, just for the off chance of getting an upgrade. So as we make our way to our next dungeon, Blackfathom Deeps, we clean up some quests in Ashenvale and eventually enter the depths at an item level of 110. The first boss, Gamura, is a shockingly handsome turtle, and as with most melee based bosses, he does hit me, regardless of me shouting out the safe word. Luckily, he locks himself into animations regularly, which I can use to kite away, and in between those, I rely on Maple, Birch and John to keep me safe. And if they aren't around, I cluck like a scaredy chicken, but eventually Gamura goes down. Our first optional boss is Domina, and even though she is optional, they are required for me to complete the dungeons. Domina is a caster style boss, with some casts that are easily dodged. And while I'm preparing myself for some heavy hitting casts, they never seem to come. Casts from bosses don't hit nearly as hard as their melee attacks, even to a point where kicking casts is more dangerous due to the boss being locked out and resorting to melee attacks. She soon falls and rewards me with a pair of nice hands. And then we move on to arguably the hardest boss we faced so far, Subjugator Korul. This tentacle-faced monstrosity not only spawns ads which slam around the room, but worst of all, he grips you regularly, stunning you while doing damage. The first attempt doesn't end well, and after some tries, we get to a strat where I change into bear form for every stun, just to rely on the extra defenses and the healing it offers. Without that, I would run out of mana by the end of the fight due to all the healing this boss requires. But eventually, with my new strats, he too falls, rewarding me with a ring. Thruk does not hit hard and falls quite easily. And Executioner Gore falls victim to the terrain shortly after, showing them that no boss is matched for the true big bad evil of World of Warcraft, AI pathing. The Guardian of the Deep's hardest mechanic is trying not to drown. And then it is time for another entry in Mechanics in Old Dungeons that nobody knows and or cares about. While Twilight Lord Bathiel has flashy mechanics, did you know that when he spawns all the healing waters, not only do they heal the boss when they reach him, but you can also run over them to destroy them instead of damaging them? Well, if you didn't, you know now. Aside from that, it's a very easy boss, as he doesn't do anything while the waters are running in, so you got plenty of time to heal and regen mana. The boss may not be hard, but the gear he drops is quite special, as it upgrades to have a tertiary on it. You see, all bosses have a chance to drop upgraded gear, and while not sure if they can upgrade to epic in all cases, most gear has an option to proc a socket or a random tertiary. Out of the tertiaries available, these boots have leech on them, healing me back for a percentage of damage dealt to enemies. And while the amount is low, this could make quite a big difference if I get enough of it later. And that brings us to Akumai, the ultimate and final challenge of the... And after that dungeon, I went back to the drawing board. I feel like I need a bit more power, especially when it comes to the later dungeons. First, some easy wins. I have 2 gear slots where I have no items in yet, and filling those will grant me quite some power over the emptiness that fills them now. First of all, shoulders. which I can probably get from questing somewhere, and a neck which... Wait a minute. I made my way to Chromie and changed my timeline to BFA. I so hope this is not another artifact weapon scenario. After skipping the intro quest, I make my way to Zuldazar, all in pursuit of this beautiful neck that you can get in this expansion. You see, in BFA, they learned so much from how people loved the artifact weapons, and the grind that came with it, that they decided to do it again, but with a necklace. The neck has a nice variety of secondary stats, and increases in power by obtaining Azurite power. Even if the eye level would be at 140, the secondary stats would be quite nice to have, so I go to BFA to pick this one up. We follow Princess Delangi, meet her father, after which we establish a base of operation right here in the Great Seal. And this is when you get approached by an earthen messenger to send you on the initial quest. Wait, where is the messenger? Apparently, to make him appear, you need to do the Dragonflight intro quest? I swear this game's not bugged at all. We do the intro quests, and actually, now that the War Within pre-patch is live, Dragonflight scales all the way back to level 10, so if we ever want some gear from Dragonflight, we can probably go and get it. Although, the dungeons here actually only drop up to eye level 135 instead of 140. I'm not really sure what that is about. Anyway, back to Zuldazar, and the earthen is not here. Maybe I should just straight go to Silitus and meet Magni there. Alas, no luck either. Seems like you can only get the heart at level 50. So, similar to Legion legendaries, we bid our farewell, and we will come back later for this one. Speaking of Legion, let's check in on our order hall, as our mission is now completed. We now also get the option to start upgrading our class hall, with the first upgrade increasing our rare and epic quest reward chance. So if I really want to grind out those epics, I should probably do so in Legion. But for now, I decide to stick to the expansions where I'm currently being capped by. So I set off to Winterspring. As it was close by, and since this is an endgame classic zone, I thought my chances for a neck and shoulder piece would be much higher than the earlier zones. And I was partially right, as I obtained a trinket and a staff upgrade early on. But Winterspring was also a great spot to train my herbalism, but more on that in the next episode. And after murdering the entire animal kingdom of Narnia, we finally get our hands on a set of shoulders. And soon after, the entire zone of Winterspring is finished, and not a single neck piece to show for it. One last thing I take away from Winterspring is this Yeti toy. Now I do remember this being really good in Season of Discovery Phase 1, because they were very high level, but this is retail, so who knows. I'll just keep it in my back pocket for now. As questing did not give me a neck piece, I decide to go after one more dungeon this episode. And this dungeon will be the Wailing Caverns. The Wailing Caverns drop a set of gear that gives some extra intellect, which if we really want to, we could go for it just to get a small boost in our intellect, but it also houses Kresh. Kresh is a turtle that lives right near the entrance of the dungeon, and he drops a necklace. So the aim is to get that neck if we don't get it on our first clear. And with that, we make our way to the Wailing Caverns. Another one of those classic dungeons that got cut in half because too many people got lost in a maze. All 8 bosses are still in there. However, despite the amount of bosses, there are truly only 2 types of bosses in here. The Druid Lords and all the others. You see, the Druid Lords, they all do the same thing. They spam Lightning Bolt and Healing Touch, they sleep targets that they are not attacking with Druid Slumber, and when they run out of mana, yes, they can run out of mana, they come over and slap you in the face. And we have already established that casters do not really do that much damage unless they melee you, so after a couple of minutes, Lady Anacondra and Lord Pythus fall, with the latter giving me the first piece of the set, the Armor of the Fang. Lord Cobran is next, and even though he transforms into a snake near the end of the fight, no real challenge here either, as he goes down and provides me with the second piece of the set, the Leggings of the Fang. Now, the bosses that are not druids aren't really exciting either. They mainly just melee or cast at you, so on the way to Lord Serpentis we take down Kresh, which did not drop our necklace, and Scum, providing me with a big cloak upgrade. Lord Serpentis follows, and this is more of the same druidy stuff. And then we come face to face with the hardcore classic tank killer, Verdun the Ever-Living. This boss has terrorized plenty of hardcore classic tanks due to his insanely high melee damage, and let's say this has transferred to retail for sure. Now, what I don't really understand is this spiking HP. You see in this clip I go down to 1 HP and then instantly jump back to 35%. Nothing in the logs, nothing in my talents that could cause this. But if you know why this happens, please let me know in the comments below. Whatever it is, paired with some clever use of healing, kiting and defensives, Verdun falls eventually, and while I was hoping for a weapon drop, I wasn't too lucky this time. But with Verdun out of the way, there is only one boss left. And after a brief escort mission, we arrive at Naralax? Wait, aren't you supposed to be on a mission right now? Talk about sleeping on the job. Anyway, we take care of Mutanis, so Naralax can get back to work. And with that, Wailing Caverns is completed. Now all that is left for me to do is getting that damn neck of Kresh. And after 5 runs, we finally have no empty gear slots anymore, making our item level spike to 139. A perfect place to end the episode. If you have enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, as there will be more episodes of Solo Dan in the near future, as we look at our first profession grind in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.